Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Chat on Sunday. I am here with Karen Anderson. And let me tell you a little bit about Karen. If I disappear, I'm sorry. I don't think I will, but let me just make sure. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about this wonderful, wonderful lady. Karen Anderson is an esteemed author and award-winning animal communicator and pet loss specialist known for her heartwarming and insightful books that explore the afterlife of animals and the profound connections we share with our beloved pets. Karen has written 3 best-selling books documenting her journey from deputy sheriff to psychic, including the newly released book, The Pet I Can't Forget, along with her first 2 books, The Amazing Afterlife of Animals and Hear All Creatures. Karen established herself as a trusted voice, for a trusted voice in the realm of animal spirituality. Karen also offers a free pet loss app, animal communication courses, and established a nonprofit animal sanctuary providing a final refuge for the pets no one else wants. The elderly, special needs, and abandoned companion animals have a forever home at Karen's Sanctuary, and proceeds from her books and courses benefit the animals. And Karen, welcome. We are so honored and happy to have you today.
Thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
I have too. And so today we're going to talk about kind of focusing in on the pet I can't forget, finding hope and healing with signs from the afterlife. We have a lot of pet lovers here. We have constantly talking about our pets and the passing of our pets as well. So I think this is going to be really informative, and I think it's going to be really hopeful for a lot of people. I wanted you to start by talking a little bit about the very beginning of your realization of your psychic abilities and your ability to communicate with animals, and kind of where this all began.
Well, let me first start off by saying that it was the earliest memory I have as a child. I could understand animals, certainly not on the level that I do now, but that of a 5 or 6-year-old child, that I would have silly little conversations with my childhood pets, but I thought everyone could understand them. So I didn't know that I was doing something unique or different or strange or, my parents kind of freaked out a little bit. And they're like, stop talking to the dog, Karen. They didn't know what to do with me. And then I started coming up with things I shouldn't know, like when our dog had pancreatitis. 5-year-old kids don't know about pancreatitis. And so then they told me, stop. They didn't know what to do with it. So I hid it from everyone, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. And I think back now at how sad that, what if they had encouraged me? How would that path have been? So to all parents, please encourage your children to sharpen their natural gifts and intuitive abilities, because it took me a long time to get all of that back again as an adult. And then you battle with all those, demons in your mind that adults have of, this isn't real. I can't do this. This isn't possible. And, it's crazy talking to a deceased pet, So that's how it all started way back when. But it has been an incredible journey that really snowballed when I was a deputy sheriff.
And you I've heard you talk about the beginning of your encounters with animals helping you solve crimes. And so could you share with us, there's a story you told about some deer, that a pack of deer or whatever, a herd of deer that talked to you and helped you one dark night. So can you talk about that story?
So I was a deputy in Bailey, Colorado, which is about 8,000 feet up in the Rocky Mountains. And it was a mountain district, of course, so very rural. You could have one call on one side of the county and then drive an hour and a half to 3 hours to get to the next call. You just never knew where you were going to be sent. And so we got a call one night of this particular suspect who had rolled his vehicle that was known to have an outstanding warrant, armed and dangerous, not somebody you want to be messing with. So we all took off. It was a summer night. It was pitch black. There's no street lights up in the mountains. And we got to the scene, and the individual had rolled the vehicle and was nowhere to be seen. So I was told to stay on perimeter while all the other officers took off in search of the suspect down the road. So perimeter is basically where they would stick me because I was the only female officer, and it's definitely a boys' club. And perimeter was like, well, we don't know what to do with Anderson, so we'll just stick her on perimeter and she can't get in our way. Basically, that's what it was. But I was new. I was a rookie, so I didn't care. I just wanted to get out there and do the job. So I stayed on scene, and it was a big field, a wide open field surrounded by huge pine trees, and I was the only one there. So all the police activity was to my left. And as I'm sitting there in my patrol car, I started to think, oh my gosh, what if I find this guy? What if he's still here? What if he's lurking around here in the pitch blackness? I wouldn't see him, but he would see me. I'd be a sitting duck out there, of course, in a patrol car. So I got out, and I thought, I don't want to be in the vehicle because that's, too obvious. So I got out of the patrol car, and I was walking slowly through this open field, and there was a herd of deer not too far away. They knew I was there, but they weren't alarmed by my presence. They knew I wasn't going to harm them, and they were just eating the grass. It was summertime. They were just moving through the area. And all of a sudden, I had this thought to myself, where could this guy be hiding? And as I had the thought, a deer popped its head up and looked at me. And it was this instant connection, and I heard the words logs over by the logs in my head. I didn't say it. I don't know who said it, but I heard it. Mm-hmm. But it sounded like my voice. So over to my right, there were some fallen trees. And I thought, oh my gosh, what if he's over there? Now the deer kept looking to the right when all the police activity was to the left. So that also told me something's going on to the right, because the deer are going to look where there's something going on. So I snuck around real slow, went back in the darkness behind the patrol car and back over by those logs. And as I approached, I could literally feel my heart pounding in my chest. Oh my God, what am I going to do if I find this guy? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I drew my weapon, and I ordered the suspect to come out with his hands up. And sure enough, these two hands popped up. So now the tricky part, I got on the radio and I said, I've got him at gunpoint. So, all the other officers converged on scene. But the tricky part was they all wanted to know how I knew where he was hiding.
Oh my
gosh. A deer told me. Can you imagine? I'd be the last one in the department at that point. So that's where it all really snowballed, because I was in a heightened sense of awareness. As a police officer, you have to be super diligent all the time, and that just kind of amplified my natural intuition.
And after this experience, and you thought about it afterwards, how did you make sense of it? Did your ego mind come in and try to undo it, or were you like, I know what this was?
Well, I had been very interested in animal communication with my own animals at the same time. So it was paralleling what I was doing as a deputy. So my interest was there. I wanted to learn how to communicate with animals. I was practicing with my own pets at home. So this was just kind of one more step in what I was doing at the time. So I really wanted to believe, but I thought it was just completely shocking that a wild animal would share that information. I was the only one in this field. It wasn't like I had other officers there with me. It was just me. But I clearly made eye contact with this deer. I heard the voice. It was my voice in my head, but it wasn't my thought. So I really wanted to believe, and I was blown away. And then it kept happening, not with deer, but with other animals on crime scenes. So then I was like hooked. I was all in at that point.
Did you remember, as this came back to you as a sheriff deputy, did you remember that, oh yeah, I used to do this as a kid? Or yeah.
In fact, the term animal communicator was not a term I knew when I first got started with this. I just wanted to have a closer connection with my animals. I wasn't even aware that you could even connect with a departed pet. I was so new. And then, like you said, I had this remembering, I had this spiritual awakening where everything seemed so familiar, but kind of far away familiar. Like, wow, this just, something just is resonating with me. And I started to remember, oh my gosh, I used to do this. Again, silly little conversations. I can't even think of them, because I was a little kid. But I remember they were it was so amazing as a kid. But again, I thought everyone could do it. So now as a police officer, there is no way I'm telling anybody what I'm doing, because I would lose all my credibility. I have to go to court and stand before a judge, and it's not going to go over well.
Well, and when you talk about animals on crime scenes, if an animal witnesses a crime or witnesses something, first of all, how does it affect them? And also, were there times when the person's pet actually told you what happened, or a pet that lived in the home told you what happened?
Well, animals are far more honest than humans, I've come to find out. The animals were actually better eyewitness accounts than the humans I interviewed. They were more accurate, and they don't have an agenda. So they'd never try to hide. If they favored someone, they wouldn't say, oh, well, he didn't do it if he really did. They would say, well, this is what I saw, and they would show me. So yes, it greatly affects them. And of course, they record all of this information. They have this information, and they'll share it. Some of them will share it if asked in a nice, kind, loving way. You have to be very kind in your approach, of course. But so I found it just unbelievably amazing that I could arrive on a crime scene, let's say a domestic violence, or even showed up on a gentleman who was deceased, and he had a dog out back on the porch. And when I arrived on scene, it looked like this man had been beaten up. And all the evidence was leading us to that conclusion. But the dog told me a completely different story. He said that the man was the only one in the house, that no one else had been there. And the dog said he heard a bunch of noise, and then it was silent. And then he never saw his human dad again. So what was so amazing about that is that every other officer on the scene said, no, someone came in here and did this to this man. But what we found out on the investigation, that he had suffered from an epileptic seizure. So everything in his house was knocked over, and things were strewn all over the place. And he even got a little bit, battered around because he was having a seizure. And yeah, he died because of that. So the dog was right.
Right.
So those kind of things, just to me as a police officer, it was just so amazing that I could tap into what the animals were sharing with me and get more accurate information than even what the investigators were initially thinking on the scene.
That is amazing. And just an aside, when you show up after a crime and the pets are there, do they know that you're there to help? Is there a part of them that knows because if they've just witnessed something awful, or do they know that you're different, that you come in with a different energy and you're there to help?
I think so, because the first thing I do, when you arrive on scene, is you have to be safe. So you assess the safety of yourself and the others that are still there. And because I'm such an animal lover, I always pay attention to the animals. I want to make sure they're safe. We don't want them, running out the door or taking off if they're scared. We want to make sure that they're secured, and I love them so much, I can't help but be drawn to them. And they can sense that. They know that. And so they are like, like you said, they can feel the energy and the sincerity. So if somebody arrives on scene and they're not really an animal person, they're going to sense that too. So an animal will likely respond in a way that they don't quite know why that person is there, or become very guarded or very protective of the people on the scene. So you just never know. But I love animals so much. It's like, oh my gosh, so cute little kitty puppy. I go right into my cute little kitty puppy mode, or whoever is there. So
Right.
they know that. I even had a cat one time. This is so funny. I've never told this story before, but you just reminded me of something. We were doing surveillance on this one particular house that was a suspected drug house, and we were sneaking up outside, and they had a cat that saw us, of course, and it wanted to come over and like say hi. And so here we are trying to sneak up real stealth, and here's this cat with his tail like right in front of my face. And we're like, Kitty, come on, you guys stop it. So things like that happen too. But I always pay attention to the animals on a scene. And when I found out that they could be a wealth of information, police officers will take any kind of information they can to help themselves or to help solve a crime. It's just not something that you put in a police report, right? My confidential informant has 4 legs and a tail. You're not no, not going to go there.
Right. Only Scooby-Doo. That's the only other one that I know of. Scooby-Doo.
I grew up with Scooby-Doo. I love Scooby-Doo.
Well, I just want to acknowledge everybody in the chat. They're loving this conversation. And like I said, we have so many animal lovers, and we always talk about our pets. And so I just wanted to acknowledge everybody. Hello, everyone. And they're really just excited about these topics and all of your stories.
Well, I wish I could see you all, but hello, everybody in chat. I can't see anyone except Kim, but
well, I'll keep you abreast of what's happening.
Thank you for tuning in. And I have a million stories. I do. I have a million of them. So,
well, I was going to ask you, it's one thing to have these experiences and to kind of know that, okay, I have this ability, and especially as an officer, having this extra thing that you can tap into that really helps and guides you. But it's a different thing to put it in books and put it out there. So what made you decide to write about these things and kind of put them in a way that was out to the public?
I think there's just this veil of transparency that I wanted to really reflect my work. I didn't want to hide anymore. I was tired of hiding. Like I told you, ever since I was a kid, I felt like I was doing something wrong. And I didn't want to go down that path. And once I realized how much information animals can share with us, even who an aggressor was in a domestic violence situation, where all the indicators would indicate that, one particular person was the aggressor, but I would get different conflicting information from the animal that would later turn out to be true, as witnessed by an unbiased neighbor or bystander, whoever. It's just so fascinating. So I thought I have to pull the dark curtains away from this and reveal what is possible. I mean, how can we learn about something if we're not willing to come forward and say, this is what happened to me? Yeah, it's crazy, but it happened. And share this with people so that they can explore on their own. I would rather have someone inquire and talk to me about an experience they had, or a feeling they had, or something their animal did, and have that common bond with them, than to keep all these stories to myself. what fun is that? And these are some great stories and great experiences. So I like being transparent and just sharing the craziness of my life and all the things that I've done and seen and heard, because it's mind-blowing. That's the other thing. If it blows my mind, I mean, it's got to be good, right? So
Right.
I want to share.
I love it. And I think people are so appreciative of these kinds of stories, especially if you lose a pet and you lose a pet that you're very close to. Um, I wanted to bring in just a couple of comments real quick. Colleen McSpirit says, "This is wonderful. I have used an animal communicator with my dog, Sunshine, and it was truly amazing. Thank you for your work, Karen, and thank you, Kim, for having her on." And Mountain Sunshine says, "I know what books I will be getting for Christmas."
Yay!
And I also wanted to mention, if you're on the fence about getting a book, that a lot of the some of the proceeds go to your pet refuge. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And so just so we
Sure.
know what it is.
So I retired from conducting sessions several years ago so that I could write more books and help more people that were struggling from the loss of a beloved companion, because I felt that the information that was currently available was very limited.
Mm-hmm.
And having been an animal communicator for 26 years, I had so much to share. I had so many stories and incredible experiences that I wanted to get that out in book format so that I could help more people. Because as an animal communicator, you're limited to how many sessions you can have per day, per week, per month, where if I wrote a book about it, it could go out worldwide, which they are right now on Amazon worldwide. So in doing that, I also wanted to open an animal sanctuary. It's been a childhood dream. As long as I can remember, I was saving everything, butterflies, birds, lizards. It didn't matter to me. As long as it needed help, I was going to help it and provide it with safety and food and, all of that stuff. So a couple of years ago, I launched the Painted Rain Ranch Animal Sanctuary. And we are a 501c3, so donations are tax deductible. We're allowed by law, of course. And all of the proceeds from my books and percentage of proceeds from my course, my beginner's course for animal communication, all go toward the animals on the nonprofit. And you can see all their cute little faces on our website, paintedrainranch.org. And the reason it's named Painted Rain Ranch, because I have a horse and she is a paint and her name is Rain. So thus
How sweet.
Painted Rain Ranch. So we are 30 acres of beautiful mountains. We are completely surrounded by trees and meadows and beautiful scenery, no neighbors anywhere. So it's just me and the animals, my husband, and 30 acres.
Wow.
And what I do is I go to the local shelters and I ask for the pets that no one else wants, the ones that have no applications, the ones that have health issues, special needs, elderly, the ones that get overlooked. And I bring them here and they stay here. We are a final refuge. They live with us as part of our family, and we only take in a small amount because I want to be sure they're getting the best of care. And most of our residents have issues. So as head pooper scooper and cleaner upper, I have a lot to do on a daily basis. So I want to make sure that they all have, exceptional care. But right now, it's, wintertime. We just got our first snowstorm. So there's even more chores in taking care of making sure the outdoor animals and everybody is warm and safe and cozy and happy. But it's my joy. It's my total absolute joy. And we are completely funded through donations. We have no grants because we're too small. You know, grants go to the big names out there and we get overlooked. So I rely on my book sales and the goodness of people who love animals and want to help us out. And we have Amazon wish lists and a Chewy wish list. And yeah, we're always needing donations.
Well, that is so beautiful. And what state is this in, Karen?
Washington State. I'm in Eastern Washington. So if you think of the northeast corner, everyone thinks of Seattle. No, I'm on the complete opposite side of the state. So my closest neighbors are Canada and Idaho. I'm up in that corner.
Oh, okay.
So Spokane, Coeur d'Alene, I'm north of that area, about an hour north.
Yeah, I have family in Moses Lake, so that's in that area.
Yes.
That's funny. So I know exactly where you are. And my Christmas gift to Karen is going to be that anything that's donated in the super chat today will go to her refuge. And also I put the link in the description. So if you'd like to make a donation straight to the organization, you can. And what a beautiful gift to animals, and how kind of you to give back that way. And when you get those pets that are the ones that nobody has wanted, or they're afraid to take them because they might be costly or things like that, what is the reaction from the pet? Are they grateful? Do they know what's happening? Do they get what's going on?
Well, you're going to make me cry. So
you're going to make us cry.
It's the most powerfully satisfying, joyful, painful, heartbreaking, amazing experience, because they know that we're here for them. They know that this is their forever home, and they're so grateful. But they flourish. And this is what I want to share with your listeners, is these pets that have been cast aside, that nobody else wants, they flourish. They become these amazing, some of them even stop having their issues because they have love now and they have a home. So don't overlook the ones that are, often, the ones that people don't want. They need love too. And I wish I could take more. I wish, but maybe with grants and maybe with, more people finding out about us, we can expand and take on more. We don't have a staff. It's just my husband and me. That's it. And, it's our passion. It's what we do. And we don't get to take a lot of vacations, but the animals are our number one priority. And that's really my whole life. So I've worked with animals. I take care of animals. I rescue animals. I'm all about the animals. I write about them. I teach about them. All my Facebook and social media, I share about their incredibly insightful messages. It's truly my lifelong passion.
That's amazing. So we've got some donations coming in. Myrna Lloyd, thank you.
Thank you
so much. It is so kind. Alloway Girl, 1967. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing. And Gina, thank you so much. That is so kind of you. Thank you. And Alloway Girl wants to know, do you take volunteers?
We don't have the insurance for that here. We hope to down the road. So the best volunteer I could ask you to be is, we also have a clothing line too with our logo on it. You have to go to our website and check it out. I just got my hoodie. I don't have it on today, but I just got my hoodie and I love it. It's so soft. But the volunteering that we ask for now is just telling others about us and sharing our site and letting people know what we're doing. We're hoping that others will catch on and do the same thing, or just bringing awareness to those animals that nobody wants. And you can see most of the ones that I have here have serious health issues. If you go to the website, and our vet bills are it's crazy. And they are happy and comfortable, and like I said, thriving. So
Oh,
it's truly the most rewarding and satisfying and humbling experience. And my thing here is, Kim, if I can do this, if I can create this and follow my dream, anybody can. Don't let anybody stand in your way or say you're too old, or you're a woman, you can't do that job, as in police officer work. I was a police officer back in the year 2000, which is now a long time ago. And, it was hard because I was the only one on the department. Now there's, female officers all over the place. God bless them.
right.
So,
Right.
don't let anybody tell you you can't. Just do it. Follow your dreams. I did, and it has made all the difference in the world.
I love that. I love that message, Karen. I think that's so important. And I did want to say, Kayascape says, or Seascape, I have a rescue. She had cancer. She had surgery and is cancer free, but now she has a spine issue. Working on getting her an MRI to prevent paralysis, and I would do it again.
Yep. I'm telling you, it is so rewarding. And that just made me think of something too. And God bless you for bringing on that rescue. And it, they can resolve their little glitches that they have with proper care and somebody just to love them. But I wanted to share here briefly that even though I'm not doing communication sessions, I have partners, my colleagues, and they donate a portion of their sessions to the nonprofit. So when you book with them, they will send a portion of those proceeds to the Painted Rain Ranch. So we're continuing. Yes, we're continuing our funding by providing outstanding animal communicators who can deliver beautiful messages to you from your pets.
I love that. And Bernie 444, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I do, and Megan Woods, thank you so much. And she says, thank you for caring, Karen. Oh my gosh, now we're just going to have, this is going to be the rest of the show.
Thank you, everyone.
Dixon, thank you. LaJoy, thank you so much. Like I said, we're all animal lovers here, Karen, so you couldn't have picked a better group to come and talk to.
I'm getting like goosebumps on top of goosebumps here. Oh. And, truly, everybody, thank you so much. It's really hard sometimes. We just lost one over the Thanksgiving holiday, and it's crushing when we lose one of our residents. And she was my eldest hen. She was taken from a hoarding situation. But she lived a long 7 years, and, she was spoiled rotten. She had a little palace, and she was just, I sang to her. I can't sing very well, but I sang to her every day and gave her fresh produce and, everything she wanted. And she lived with me in the house in the last year of her life because she was just getting too old to be outside anymore. So we take such good care of these babies, and it's just so hard when we lose them, but boy, they are loved when they are with us.
Oh, I love that. And it's so just touching to know that you take the ones that are either in difficult situations or having a hard time getting adopted. I know with ours, we got little Luca, and nobody would take him because he had a leg that he would limp on. And so we took him, and he's fine. All he had to do was gain weight because he had been a street dog. So he had to gain weight in that leg be walked regularly, fed regularly, and he's good as gold. So like you said, sometimes just loving them and letting them know they're loved, they're safe, and take care of them, that's all they need.
It's so true. It's so true. And, I have to put it out there too, that it's kind of no mystery here that the strays find me too. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and there's somebody out there. It's like there must be a neon sign flashing over the house that says, hey, go to Karen. She'll take you there. So they find me, and they're, like you were asking me earlier, are they grateful? They are beyond grateful. And I have to almost say, on a funny note here, I've had some animals in my life that I raised since they were teeny tiny. I have 2 kittens left that I found. There's 2 left in the litter. I found down at the bottom of the property in a slash pile. Slash pile is when there's a bunch of logging done, and there's logs and branches and all the leftover stuff that they didn't take. This giant slash pile. And I went down to go pick up the mail one day, and I heard this meow, and I thought, is that a bird? I thought it was just so high pitched. I thought it was a bird, and then it got louder and louder and louder. It was actually 4 kittens that were dying. Their mama wasn't there anymore, and their eyes had just started to open, and they were hungry and dehydrated, and they probably weren't going to make it if I didn't get them out of that wood pile. But I had them since they were itty bitty teeny tiny. They had many health issues. 2 of them were missing a limb, congenital birth defects, and the other one has asthma and just all kinds of respiratory problems. But they've been with me since itsy bitsy, and they can be the biggest brats. It's almost like they have this sense of entitlement, like
they got spoiled.
They are. They're the other ones that come in that have been on the street or having to fend for themselves. They're like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you for this beautiful home and food and taking care of us. And then here comes my little brats, right? Because they've been here since they were itsy bitsy teeny tiny. But no, we love them all, and yes, they're very spoiled, very spoiled.
That is amazing. So Janet DC, thank you so much. She says, love your heart for animals. And Dora, I love that. Thank you so much for your donation. That is so sweet.
Love that show.
I know, me too.
Right? Just wiggle those.
Just visiting.
Thank you
so much. Hippen City. Thank you so much. My thoughts. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Go on and on. So Karen, I wanted to ask you, somebody asked earlier, I'm sorry, I lost the question, but I thought it was a good one. What about animals in zoos? Do you ever talk to animals that are in a situation where they're in a zoo or they're in some,
I have, but to be completely honest and transparent, as an animal communicator, 99.9% of my work was with cats and dogs and horses and people's pets.
Right.
But I have been to several different locations that are zoo-like. We have cattails here in the Spokane area where it's big cats. They have some bears, things like that. And then I've also been to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, had an interesting conversation with a big, giant 1,000-pound sunfish at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And also, heartbreaking as it is, I forced myself to do it. I went to SeaWorld, San Diego, and communicated with the animals there many, 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 many years ago. So yes, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about it, but in some cases, like here, locally, they take in, cats that are otherwise going to be euthanized here at Cattails, or, people are raising them in their backyards and stuff, and they get too big for them. So in certain situations, it's the lesser of the two evils, right? To have them in these sanctuaries or zoo-like places. So in that case, I can understand it. But if we're taking animals from the wild to perform, that's a whole other area that is
Right.
very disturbing. So it's very sad, and you can imagine that the animals are basically frustrated. They are not living the life they should be living. They're very confused. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of territorial issues. That was the biggest thing that came through for me, was how much frustration there was because of the territorial issues, because they're in such confined quarters.
Right. Right.
So that was a biggie.
How
And
awesome.
it's not a pleasant conversation. It's very depressing, actually.
I want to ask you about, and it kind of goes along with this a little bit. I had something happen to me that I wanted to get your opinion on, or just ask you if you've ever heard anything like this before. We had about 13 years ago, we had a bird. My husband, when he was a child, they had a parakeet. So he had good memories of having a parakeet. So we went to the pet store and got a parakeet. And it was so hard for me because I just wanted to let it go. I just felt so guilty about having it in the cage. I will never have a bird again, but we would let her out. Her name was Carly. We'd let her out and she would kind of hop around, but then she'd go back to her cage. She didn't like being out. And when I'd read about just letting them go, they say don't let them go because they'll get confused and they might hit a tree or hit a window. So we kept her and we'd set her outside and let her talk to the other birds and sit her in the sun. And we kept her, safe and happy. And when she passed away, we buried her under our little tree where we used to set her cage. And for days and days, I just apologized to her and apologized to her. I was so distraught over this bird. and I just said, I'm so sorry that you couldn't fly. I'm so sorry that you were in a cage your whole life. I'll never do this again. I'm so sorry. And I'm so happy you're free. I'm so happy you're free. Well, about 5 days, I would say 3 to 5 days after she passed, we have a big, we have a living room, then we have a sliding glass door, and then our backyard you can see, and there was a big fountain that stood right in the middle of our garden in the backyard. And about the 5th day after she passed away, a giant hawk came and sat right in the middle of the fountain and stared right into our window and stayed and stayed and stayed. And after a couple of hours would take off. Came again the next day, the 3rd day. And the 2nd day, I said, this hawk keeps coming, came yesterday and today. And I feel like it has something to do with Carly. And this was way before I was doing any kind of intuitive work or anything. I'm like, but I haven't quite figured it out. And the 3rd day, I looked at it outside the window and kind of met eyes with it. And I said out loud, I see you, Carly. I can see you're free and you're letting me know you're free. Thank you for coming. And it took off and never came back. And yes, I know, me too. And so I asked my guides what this was. And they said it was called energy blending, and that animals can blend with the energy of other animals and they can assist each other, or they can they can kind of take over and ask for assistance and be part of this an energy blending. So I just wondered what you thought of that, and have you ever heard anything like that?
Yes, I have, and I've seen it myself, and what a beautiful story. And I write about this in The Pet I Can't Forget. I call it soul sharing. So energy blending, soul sharing. It's basically what you said. So there's a host animal, and the energy of your beloved will share this physical body of the host animal. They can come visit once or often. And it's one of those things where when it happens, something incredible is happening. You get, goosebumps, you get this feeling, you get a download of information, or you get overwhelmed with emotions.
Right.
This happens, and it's a beautiful thing. And it is one of the signs that I write about in the book, that this will happen. And it's a very, very powerful message, because how beautiful Carly was letting you know, look at me. I'm
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And
yeah.
also aware that I was so upset,
Yes,
aware that, like, setting me free as well from
yes, right.
my
And
guilt.
yes, and I got total goosebumps when you were telling me that story. Goosebumps to me means we're right on. You're
Yes,
on the money. You're,
exactly.
it's truth. It's, it's really happening. My guides will just
Same.
dump goosebumps on me. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps.
I
Then
get the same thing, Karen, and it's always an affirmative of some kind.
absolutely. I love that story. And, when we pay attention and when we acknowledge those visitations and those signs that we get, they will often send more. Like you said, this hawk took off, you never saw it again. But, maybe down the road, there will be another form of messaging, or maybe that was it. Maybe that's all Carly needed to share with you. Message received, and it was beautiful. And what a happy memory to have for
Yeah,
Carly to be soaring.
absolutely. Yeah, it was amazing. Along those lines, I wanted to ask you about a story in this book, The Pet I Can't Forget. And I there's a story in it about Lil Roy. And I thought that story encompassed a few things that I wanted to ask you about. So the first is that Lil Roy is this adorable little
Oh,
pet. He wears like little suits and stuff.
oh,
He's
he's
so
so
cute.
cute. Yes.
Kind of turned into a service dog and was very loved people and loved to be photographed, and just a really kind of a ham. And he passed away from a heart condition. And of course, the owner was absolutely distraught. And one day she's walking and finds a feather, and something tells her this is from Little Roy. Um, what do you say about that? Because I know that people sometimes will find things, or their pet will leave something, and they'll see it, and then later on they might think, oh, maybe I'm just making that up, or maybe I'm just, right? So what do
Yeah.
you have to say about those kinds of signs?
Don't do that. Don't second guess. That's what I have to say about it. You're in that spot, you're receiving that for a reason. There's synchronicities happening. We are all connected in the universe, in the quantum realm. It's like a spider web, but that we're all connected. So when you get a message like that, like in the little Roy story where she found a feather, it was actually right inside a hoof print, like a perfectly formed hoof print in the sand, this tiny little white feather, perfectly placed right where she was walking. No one else was around. She was out at the horse stable, and here's this perfectly placed feather. But she also got that download, that overwhelming rush. And that's usually what happens. The ego will pop in and say, oh, it's just your emotion, your imagination. Oh, you're making things up. Oh, it's just wishful thinking. Don't listen to ego. Ego doesn't know what it's talking about. You were in that particular place at that particular moment to receive that message. Honor it, celebrate it, be excited, thank them, ask for more. The more you ask, the more you shall receive. They love it when you acknowledge a sign. They do. They get up and they just do this.
Oh, it's so
It's like a little
happy.
Snoopy dance, she got my sign, she got me sign, yay. And it energizes them and it makes them excited to send more signs. So imagine it takes a lot of energy to send a sign. How disappointing for them when they've saved up all this energy and sent you this beautiful sign, and you go, feather, that doesn't mean anything. That's just my wishful thinking. And you walk away.
Right.
It's like, really, mom or dad, really? You're going to do that to me after I put all that effort and energy? So don't break their little hearts, because that's what it feels like. It feels like they're being disregarded after all that they went through to send you this amazing sign. So just be excited that you received it, and do the happy dance and ask them for more. And if you're not sure who sent it, that's okay too. Like me, I have a million animals. So it's like, well, who sent that? Sometimes I'll get an instant ping, like I'll know, like you knew that was Carly, right? It's something you can't describe. It's just a knowing. You just know. Other times you're a little bit unsure, and it's okay. Your spirit family doesn't get upset if you think it's from somebody else. It's
Right.
not that kind of competition in spirit. They're just excited that you're acknowledging it, and it can be from multiple spirit energies. So maybe it's not just from one, maybe it's from the whole group. Maybe they all got together and sent you this really special message. The bottom line is there are no such things as coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
You saw something, felt something, heard it, dreamt about it. There's a reason for it. And dreams are only positive. Dream visitations will only be positive and loving and incredibly real. They will never be disturbing.
Well, and in this same story, they have this woman decides, because she was so close to this pet, that she wants to start trying to communicate with her pet that has passed. And it kind of is the catalyst to her moving into doing her own intuitive work, or work in communicating with her pet, Lil Roy. And so can a pet be the catalyst to begin to do something like this?
Absolutely. In fact, I have this saying with those who find me that are guided to my website and that opt in. I have what I call my VIP family, where I offer ongoing pet loss support. I'm not a grief counselor. I don't offer grief support, but I offer pet loss insights and afterlife insights to help resolve the grief and the pain, just to be clear there. And I have a saying to my VIP family members that you were guided to me. Somebody in your spirit group knew that there was something that I could share with you that was going to help you get through a very, very dark time, or a deep loss, or a painful experience, or maybe even guide you toward sharpening your own skills as an animal communicator. And it's true. We are often guided, gently nudged along the way, because they can't interfere. They can only nudge us gently. I truly believe that our departed pets know who can help us, and they'll push us along, nudge us. When I was doing sessions, I would ask my clients, well, how'd you find out about me? I have no idea. I just ended up on your website. It's like, well, okay, they can't even remember what they were doing or how they found me, but boom, there I was. Or someone will say, well, you're one of your podcasts just popped up on YouTube, and next thing I knew, I was crying and listening and watching, and oh my gosh, I truly believe that if we embrace that and realize that our loved ones want us to move through that dark pain, they don't want us to stay there. Our departed pets, they're with us during our darkest moments, but they want us to be happy, because we're more fun to be around when we're joyful and happy than when we're sad and depressed all the time. It only makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
So they want us to move forward and live a full life. So they'll do whatever they can to help nudge us along. And in animal communication, when they share these life-changing messages, it is just the most unreal experience, because I could literally feel the healing begin right here. This is where I would sit, right in this very spot during a session. I could feel the energy shift from the deep, heavy pain to this lighter, more open feeling once a message was delivered, and their human mom or dad realized that they were not gone, that they were just in a different realm, in spirit form, but they see what's going on in their life currently, since their passing.
Right. And then you do have a chapter in The Pet I Can't Forget, about people, about getting no signs, or not getting signs. So if people are watching and thinking, I haven't gotten anything from my pet, what do you say about that?
If you are one of those who have been, begging, pleading, hoping, praying for a sign, and you feel you haven't gotten any, the first thing I want to tell you is you probably have. You just didn't realize it. And most of the time, our grief, our emotions block any sign. When I'm grieving, I can't get anything. I am like, it's like a heavy blanket of pain is over me. Nothing gets through. So chances are you have received a sign, but your body is in survival mode and the heaviness of grief is upon you and you just weren't able to sense it. So that's my first thought. And my second thought is sometimes it depends on the animal. Everyone's different, just like you and I are different, just like, different personalities. Some animals don't feel the need to send signs. If they were shy, if they were more conservative or withdrawn in person, then they tend to take those qualities with them to the afterlife. So they're not going to be as boisterous or outgoing or send loud signs or messages from the spirit realm. And messages have to be loud to get through to us because we have all this mind chatter. So it's the louder, kind of more boisterous energy that we tend to pick up on easier. And so if your pet was real outgoing and, had high energy or whatever, they have a tendency to get their messages acknowledged more. But if you're still of the belief that you haven't received any sign, there's a reason. And the reason is, drum roll, that the animals that are with us the most, that are departed, they don't necessarily feel the need to send a sign because they're with us the most. And we become desensitized because we share the same energy now with them. We share the same space. So we're not going to feel them moving past us. We're not going to feel them nudging us. We're not going to feel their fur. We're so desensitized because they're around us so often that we don't pick up on those subtleties because we're too used to it. So just take heart in knowing that chances are you have received a sign, but for whatever reason, you just weren't able to sense it, or your baby is with you 24/7 and they're like, I'm not going to expend the energy. I'm around mom or dad all the time, so I'm just going to hang out here with them.
Oh, that's I really appreciate you talking about that, because I'm sure there are people that think, why didn't my dog send it?
Right.
No, he sent me a sign.
Right.
So Karen, one thing that I do, it's kind of unusual, but one thing that I do is I communicate with orbs. And so I can bring in orbs. I bring them in of people and of pets. And I do it for free for people that have lost a pet, but they will send me the name of their pet. And then I send them just this tiny little video and I call in their pet and the orb comes straight to the camera. And what's so interesting is that so often they will embody the characteristics of the animal. So if it was an orange cat, it might be an orange orb. I had one that was like this big kind of jumpy dog that was kind of bound towards you, and the orb came in and literally was bouncing towards the camera. One was a little dog that used to spin around whenever he got a treat. He like spin in a circle. And when he came in, it was kind of like he was doing loop-de-loops toward the camera. It's so fascinating, but I have found that it is one thing that because people can see it with their own eyes,
right?
It is something that can cut through that really heavy grief, because people take maybe a couple of months, 2 or 3 months to bring in, but animals are like a day, 2 days after they pass. They come in so quickly, but it is something, because I think they can see it with their own eyes, that it can cut through that. Where did they go? They're gone. They're not here. Where are they? And it can cut through that, and it can really make a difference. My little dog, Lucy, when I lost her, I was taking pictures in here of orbs, which I do all the time. And I zoomed in on one orb that was in the carpet over here, and it was a perfect profile of her face.
That
And it
is
was
so
like
cool.
she was just sitting in the carpet like she always had, because she would always just sit behind me here
So
in the
cool.
carpet.
I
So
love that. I love that. And yes, check your photos, check your camera.
exactly.
And, you know, it's they're around, they're there. And the way I look at it is, you know, we all have a cell phone, right? We all have, you know, but do we need to see the line of communication going from your phone to whoever you're texting and back again? No, we trust that that communication is going back and forth, right?
Mhm.
There's no wires. There's nothing connecting you. When you call someone or text someone, the message is sent and received. Same is true with your pets. We don't need to be visually connected or physically connected. Message sent, message received. Those bonds of love never die. You guys are stuck with each other. They're not going anywhere. They don't want to be anywhere else but with you. They're going to venture off and play or do whatever they're going to do, or fly or gallop or whatever they're going to do, but they're always going, you're home. Your home base. They're always going to be back with you and surrounding you and with you. I've had clients in their mid 90s, and I've been able to deliver messages from pets they had in their childhood. So we're going almost a century, and yet that pet is still there, still with them, still sees what's going on in their life currently. It's amazing. And all that love you have for your pet, that has to go somewhere. Think of how powerful that emotion is, that feeling. It's so powerful. How could it just disappear? It can't. It's like one of the most powerful emotions we have is that feeling of love. And truly, it is an everlasting bond. It is an eternal bond. And you never, ever have to worry about them being alone or scared or not finding the right place. No, never, never. It just can't happen. I've seen too many times where the animals come through and they're joyful and joyous and like so balanced and beautiful and perfectly fine, even if there wasn't, quote unquote, somebody, you know, within the soul group of their family to meet them or greet them when they transitioned out of their body. And they're perfectly fine. There's always a guide. Somebody is always there to greet them, meet them. They're never alone. They're never scared. They're never lost. And you don't need me, you don't need an animal communicator to send love to your companions. They feel that. It's your intention, it's your emotions. They want to hear from you. So talk to them like they're still around, like they're still with you. I talk to mine all the time, those that have passed on. And you just have to trust that they're there. Just because you can't see it, just because you can't feel it, just because you can't hear them, doesn't mean that they're not there. You must trust. That's a big part of animal communication is trust, trust, trust. So just embrace that they're there and there's nowhere else they'd rather be than with you.
I love that, Karen. I'm gonna just think that our last little bit of we had a couple of other people who sent donations. I just wanted
Thank
to
you
acknowledge
so
them.
much, everybody.
Yes, I think yeah, I did see Joe Schmo. um,
Thank you.
yeah, wonderful. If you had just one as we depart here, and thank you everybody for showing up, and I can see all of your comments and they're all sharing pet stories in the comments. So you'll have to go, you can go through and watch and look at everybody's little stories, but they're really, really sweet. And I wanted to ask you if somebody has just lost a pet, or if they've had to put a pet to sleep or anything like that. Can you just give any kind of understanding as to how the animal feels, if they're okay with it, if they understand on the other side, if they understand what happened? Do they have hard feelings? Because I know a lot of people suffer with guilt and worry about, did I do the right thing? Did I make the right choice? So could you just kind of talk to that a little bit?
I do. How much time do I have?
Go ahead and talk.
So this is one of my most heartbreaking, heart-wrenching moments, because I've had to do this many, many times. And anyone who has had to decide when it's time to say goodbye to a companion animal, it is one of the worst things we have to endure as a pet parent. But I want you to know something. In 26 years of conducting sessions, I've logged over 22,000 communication sessions.
Oh,
22,000.
wow.
And in all of those sessions, all but a small handful shared with me that they felt that their humans had given them the greatest gift of all when they helped them transition from a body that was failing them or had failed. There was a sense of gratitude, appreciation. And the one thing about animals is they don't judge. That is a human trait. So animals know what is pure in your heart and that you love them more than anything else in this world. So if you have to make that impossible decision, which is what I call it, they trust you and they know that you are coming from a place of love and that you aren't in any way taking their life from them, or however else, these crazy things that keep us awake at night that we flip and flop and lose sleep over. The animals don't even bring it up. They don't even mention it. It's not even on their radar. All they know is that the love in your heart is pure. Your intentions are for them, their best interests, and that matters more than anything else. So they don't look back at euthanasia and go, my mom or dad ended my life way too soon. I have never heard that. Never. In fact, I've heard the opposite. Mom and dad waited way too long.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that one a lot. I was so ready to go. But,
Right.
we don't want to make that decision, right? So we hold on, we keep extending their lives. And I'm guilty. I've done it. We don't want to say goodbye. We can't imagine our life without them. But you're the one who's judging yourself. They're not judging you. They have absolutely no judgment about what we do. They trust us. They've chosen us to manage them and to help them live the best life they can. And when we have to make that impossible decision, they know coming from our heart that we did it because we love them and we didn't want them to be in any pain. And if you couldn't be there when your pet transitioned, which is another heartbreaker,
Right.
some people choose not to be there. Like, it's just, they can't handle it. It's just too hard for them. And others just couldn't get there, or the animal passes before they arrived, or whatever the situation was. We as humans seem to be the only animal that obsesses about that. Now, granted, if you can be there for your pet, please do, because it helps them leave in a calmer way than in crisis if they're frantic and looking for you. So if you can be there for them, please do. But we obsess about that more than they do. They usually don't even bring it up. And many times, even if the person wasn't in the room with them, I will still see imagery of the animal literally going from your arms into the loving arms of a departed person or a being of light or archangel. It's like, even though we couldn't physically be there, a part of our soul was there and helped them through that time. So there's all kinds of beautiful stories that I have, and in sharing those final moments when an animal leaves their body. But truly, to beat yourself up over something you did or didn't do or should have done or should have taken them in sooner or shouldn't have waited so long, or all those crazy thoughts that we have as humans, I promise you, your animals don't think about those things. It doesn't even come up. In fact, if I try to ask them about their transition and what happened, they often don't want to go there. They'll change the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Very interesting. And Desert Dawn says, thank you so much. You've given me so much peace. I think a lot of people struggle with that, those final decisions, but I've had the same thing, Karen, where they have come through and said it was a final act of love on the act of their, on the part of their human. Yeah, but it is. It's heartbreaking and it's hard and it sticks with us because we tend to beat ourselves up. Be very good at that.
But I have one more closing on that topic. So
absolutely,
what I've learned from the animals is that, and I used to do this. I used to obsess about everything I did wrong leading up, even if they died of old age, like my 33-year-old horse. He was failing. He was just getting old, and I beat myself up over this. And I'm human. I do this too. Even though I'm an animal communicator, I still question and doubt myself at times. Did I do the right thing? Was I there for him? Did I do everything I could have? But truly, what's so important to realize is that your beloved companions don't want to be remembered for that last final moment where they took their last breath. They want to be remembered for the beautiful life that you shared together, all those memories, those happy times, those funny times. How would you like to be remembered for the last 10 minutes of your life? Only.
Right.
Everybody just focused on, how horrible it was when you took your last breath. Is that truly who you were in those last moments? No. That was a one tiny little half a drip of life that you lived. So don't focus on that. Celebrate what you shared. Make their life more important than their death.
I love that. And it's that's such a great reminder to celebrate their life and the life you shared together. Thank you, Karen, so much. And we talked today about The Pet I Can't Forget. But there's also 2 other books, Hear All Creatures. And the one we're going to be talking about, and you'll be back at the end of the month with our book club, because we're reading The Amazing Afterlife of Animals, that's your first book, right?
No, Hear All Creatures was number 1.
Hear All Creatures is the first one. So we're reading the second one then, right?
Yeah. And you can read them out of order. You won't get in trouble.
That's okay. Well, they're such an easy read. I mean, honestly, I love the way they're written and the way they're structured. It makes it so easy, to read a little bit and come back and read a little bit more. And it's really, really nice. I love how you did it. So thank you, Karen, so much for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for the donations. Yes, I will send them right over. As soon as I add them up, I'll send them over to Karen and her amazing refuge. And what can you tell them about the name and and where they can write to?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in today to hear my crazy stories. The best way to find me is my main website, which is simply my name, KarenAnderson.net. And there you can opt in as a VIP family member. I have so many free resources, my mobile app. And then also is the nonprofit, which is paintedranranch.org. And, truly, I thank you so much, everyone who just listened and donated and opened their heart a little bit today. And I hope I helped ease some of your pain, even just a little bit today. Just trust that your beloved companions are there. They are with you. I promise you they are with you. And there's nowhere else they'd want to be than with you.
Oh, thank you, Karen. And thank you, everybody. Both links are in the description. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.